Candace, take it away.
Yay. Well, I'm excited to have Riley on today. I keenly remember our first strategy session when Riley had came over to Best Choice as a newer agent. And just to kind of see his success over these last couple of years it's amazing and definitely to be shared. Riley is a firefighter. He lives in Spokane area and is firefighting on the west side in the Snohomish Everett area. And I just it's just amazing. So this year, you guys, he was our rookie of the year with 14 transactions. And I want to say it was almost like half on one side of the state and the other half on the other side, almost a perfect split right down the middle, with 7 on the east side and 7 on the west side. And I think that's just amazing. And I think definitely something to just know, like you can have a full-time job, be a father, having a baby recently, a newborn baby, and still be in production full-time. There's obviously some skills that come with that, and you have to be able to do some great time blocking and so forth. So really appreciate you, Riley, from for being on here and allowing me to interview you. And so, is there anything that I missed in your introduction?
I mean, I work for Renton Fire, so King County, but I'm from
Renton. Oh,
Everett. A lot of
King.
my
Okay,
transactions happen in Snohomish County,
that's it.
and
Okay.
yeah, in the Spokane area.
So Renton Fire.
Yeah,
Got it.
Renton Fire.
Noted.
Been there about just 7+ years now.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. So I guess while we're there, what inspired you to pursue real estate while being a firefighter? And, like what gave you the confidence to go for it?
Yeah, so thank you, Rochelle and Candace, for the intro and the kind words. But your son is definitely a better runner. He was on my heels by about 10 seconds, and he's like 25 years younger than me. So, which is not just that I'm like 30, but he's very impressive. I know I got bad math there, but
That was the first time I've ever had him do a 5K.
that
So
was
that's
incredible.
it was
He beat
incredible.
90% of the adults. Uh, But yeah, so growing up in North Everett, I grew up in a historic neighborhood, kind of if you know Everett, along the waterfront there, and so it's just like this really nice, like picturesque place. As funny as it is for maybe some people in the South Sound to hear of Everett, when you see like Redfin and stuff, they actually use a ton of Everett shots of the waterfront, like in those aerial shots,
Yeah.
and so cool historic neighborhood that just had a ton of character in these homes that were 100, 120 years old at times. And so always just like interested in houses, right? I went to school to get, to play baseball and get a degree, but I got a business degree in college while I was playing baseball. And I knew that firefighting at the time, it's 2012, kind of tough coming out of the recession and everything like that. Firefighting is always competitive. Hey, let's have, another kind of backup plan, maybe for a while, or, I'll have a second job because I always felt like, I wanted to hustle a little bit, and I knew I'd have opportunities with the firefighter schedule to have a second job. Often firefighters do. And so had some friends and family that were real estate agents. And I was like, man, I like houses. Like I like business, I think, and so maybe this is a good fit. So with firefighting and moving from the Midwest back to here, it took me a little bit to get going, but finally I was like, hey, I got to do this right around the start of COVID. Got my license and actually was a little bit into COVID once I finally got licensed. Yeah, just kind of started getting after it and thinking, that I could take my communication and, my skills of being someone who I think is, a good communicator, personable and confident, that would be like a seamless transition, into real estate with my passion for working with people and just really liking the business dynamics, as well as the material of real estate.
You have to like working
I
with
love
people, don't you, Candace?
you do. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
It's a little bit of houses and it's a lot about people, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. That's awesome. So I remember when we first met, you had some concerns with how to approach real estate. I think at that point you know, had maybe done a few deals and it was almost like there was not a fear, but I remember you
Mhm.
said you had some concerns with how to approach your peers, and that's your peers in firefighting. How did you overcome that and letting your firefighter family help you build your real estate business? I mean,
Yeah.
I remember that conversation pretty vividly.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was tough because the fire service has a ton of tradition and culture in it, and it's like the military can be like very like familial bond, right? You're going through things and seeing things, living with these people for 24 hours at a time that other people,
Mm,
aren't going to experience, and so I felt like I didn't want to be pushy and come off the wrong way, and I certainly was, I think, hesitant, like you're saying, to introduce myself as like a real estate agent and feel like I was going to be pushy, or they were, gonna perceive that some type of way when I'd worked hard to like build a reputation there, right?
right.
And so at first it was kind of weird, just because I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to approach it. And so honestly, it was just through having conversations with you guys, like hours going to masterminds. I listened to a ton of podcasts, listening to real estate podcasts, and just taking like little nuggets all over the place and kind of just getting more comfortable in my own skin over time. And then just having those conversations like around the dinner table or at shift change or whatever, as people are just kind of checking in on you, like, oh, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. How's the family? Stuff like that. What else is new? And just, you know, like that is new in my life, right? Like, oh, I got licensed recently. And so then the next time you see them, it's what else is going on? Oh, what's going on in real estate? And so slowly, and as they saw me kind of like take advantage of social media, they would see like, oh, hey, he's doing some stuff. And would then ask those questions, and it just kind of snowballed. People talk about it in the department, right? And so it just was able to become organic. But at first it was like, how do I do this uh, and just feel right about it? And it was just being my authentic self, as cliche as that is. I think I felt like I have to like have success with this and like approach it away or whatever. And then I was just like, why don't like just don't, just let it
Yeah.
happen, basically, right?
Yeah.
And it'll work out. And it's taken time and a little bit of patience. But yeah, this last year, that's exactly what happens, right? Like I see people and just casually comes up. Maybe they have questions about financing, HELOCs, the market, whatever. And I've been able to work with a couple friends at work and definitely see that as like this instant sphere that I have, right, of 150 people to work with.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's a great thing. Really, I know it can be tough being part-time, quote unquote, and my
Mhm.
schedule allows me to have a lot of free time as a firefighter to devote to real estate. Um, but it gives me a really tight-knit group that I can hopefully serve someday.
That is so awesome. That is so awesome. I love it. I absolutely love it. So what has been the biggest challenge of the two very demanding careers? How do you push through it?
Yeah, like you said, like time blocking. I don't I don't think of I you hear the term time blocking. I do a bit of that, just managing it, and I think just really like delegating. I have a transaction coordinator who's been amazing, Angelica Lee. I know some people in the office use her, and so using her on pretty much almost every transaction that I've had has allowed me to focus on the other things that are important, right? Like in the transaction itself, but obviously like at home, so that I'm not burying my head in documents and sending things off all the time. She can kind of have my back there so that I can be a good father to my two little boys and be a good
Mhm.
husband. And we built another house and like finishing a basement and doing all these other things that I want to do. Be a good coworker and firefighter. Yeah, delegation has been huge. I haven't done the virtual assistant route But I think if things scaled big enough, it would be something I'd look into too, because that delegation has been huge for me.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Leverage, right? It's leverage.
Yeah.
Leverage that transaction coordinator. Yes, absolutely. Let's see here. So, what are some of the habits and strategies that made it possible for you to be able to have, 7 transactions in Spokane and 7 transactions in Snohomish King County over this last year?
Yeah, I think kind of goes back to some of the things I talked about that I've been doing. So I think it boils down to like trying to learn something every day. Um, you know, every time I'm in the car or in my commute, I am listening to like a podcast. Honestly, I don't really listen. I love music, but I don't really listen to much music anymore because I'm just like obsessed with listening to whatever's next. Because I have like 10, and then they like, I see the blue dot on Spotify that like, oh, you have a new one. So I'm like, oh, what is it, right? So yeah, I fly back and forth for my shifts from Spokane to SeaTac, and then I have a car there and bebop over. So I got time in the morning, and I got time coming back, and when I'm running around or working on something at the house, I listen to like things like Bigger Pockets, On the Market, Keeping It Real, some of these other podcasts that are real estate based, whether it be as an agent directly and talking about like, hey, how do you communicate with clients on what's going on, or just like growing your business, or it's like investing stuff. Cause I love that. I have a rental now from our first house that we kept. I think there's nuggets in all of those things. Even if you're not like a huge investor per se, you can take these nuggets on like creative financing. So it's been all those things that like every day I'm trying to learn a little something and pull a little bit of something out of, these little sessions that I have on my commute or wherever else. And I think it's paid dividends because now I can speak to that and really accelerate my education process. I think my clients notice that too. And even being younger and newer in the profession, it shows that, oh, wow, he knows what he's talking about, right? So yeah, that's been huge for me. And then just communicating with people, right? Just like texting, calling people, if they just come to my mind, I'm like, oh, hey, like, what are they up to? Like, just kind of trying to stay. I don't subscribe to like ninja stuff. I know that, it's pretty big with Windermere and stuff on the West Side, but some of their podcasts too, or the ninja selling podcast I've listened to, and I think is interesting, just like the authenticity of just like try to just stay connected with people, right? And then it all comes organically from there.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that I can tell that is not changing. I think we just had a mastermind with our top producer group, and we were discussing, getting back to the basics. And in my opinion, back to the basics is just reaching out to your people, whether it's text message or, hey, I was thinking about you. How's everything going? And sometimes there's a big gap in between, but guess what? We all have lives. And normally people
Mm-hmm.
are happy to hear from you, even if it's been a few months, or you just had a brand new baby. Your baby's 3 months old now?
3 months
Is it
old, yeah. 3
three
months
months
old.
old? And your oldest son is how old?
It is 3.5.
3.5. You got two little down and littles that you are maintaining. Just so awesome. Just
Yeah.
amazing.
To that point, like I think I'm going through that and there's people reaching out to me. And so that's a great opportunity, as well as a lot of my friends who are, maybe in those same stages with weddings and babies and houses and, aspirations or things that are happening. And so, yeah, the basic stuff, because it's definitely
Yeah.
been more my focus than like going out and like knocking on doors or whatever, because I'd rather save that time for home life.
I love it. I love it. It sounds like too, you're probably pretty familiar with Ford. Do you use that kind of the family,
Before,
occupation,
yeah.
recreation, and dreams?
Yeah, I actually didn't even know what it stood for until like 2 weeks ago. Honestly, I'd hear the acronym, but I hear them talk about all that stuff, and it's like, yeah, of course. Like you're gonna ask about like, hey, what's going on? How's the family? How's work? How's all that kind of stuff? But yeah, no, I am, and I think as simple and basic as it is, like you're saying, like the basics are always going to be there, no matter what is happening with social media. And you can make reels all day and make yourself seem super busy, or send out postcards, and like all that stuff works. But for me, it's like I'm always going to have those connections, and like they want to work with you because they trust you. So,
Exactly.
just solidify those and grow those. And I think things snowball from there.
So amazing. So, big question here. What has been the most rewarding moment in your real estate journey so far?
Ooh, yeah. I think the most rewarding thing for me has been realizing like the potential of real estate. So we built a home in 2019, finished in 2020, lucked out on interest rates, crazy appreciation over here, and turning that into a rental. And then, now having some transactions, and seeing the future of what real estate can do for my family. I've had some awesome opportunities with clients. I just did a assumable mortgage for some clients, just under 3% with just $25,000 down. They're going to turn it into a rental in a couple of years. And if they did it today, they'd probably cash flow like $1,000. That was super cool working through that. But selfishly, like I have seen like, man, the sky's the limit with what this can do for me and my family and provide for us, between, having income and working for it that way. And then hopefully the passive side, with one rental and hopefully more investments in the future. I think that the most rewarding thing has realized that like it can be whatever you want it to be. And that's really cool because like I have a W-2 job that's super solid. I love it. Tons of people, are firefighters and think it's the best job in the world. But this is something totally different. This is a different animal. And man, you just have so much flexibility and opportunity.
I love it. It is an animal, isn't it? This real estate is an
Yeah.
animal. Sometimes it's a beast, and sometimes it's like my little kitty over here, just purring away. Yes, totally agree. So I love that. And obviously that was kind of my next question. How has it impacted your family's future for financial freedom? And obviously it sounds like you really can see that being something. Do you plan to, you said you do plan to purchase more properties, or have you set
Yeah.
like an
So
investment goal?
yeah, definitely. I think that like I get a little OCD if I'm like, oh, I got to do like this many doors, or you know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, dude, I'm going to have blood pressure issues if I think about it that way. But as I like kind of the slow and steady approach of it, I'm seeing opportunities, so like right now we did an unfinished basement on this house. We got a good deal on the new construction itself, just the way we financed it, and then some of the value add opportunities. So I'm finishing the basement. We've had some good appreciation already. We've just been in since end of September, but over the period of the build and then this newer neighborhood. So like finish the basement, and let's say next fall, once I hit the 12 months and I can do a cash out refi, I can pull 6 figures out of this thing and probably not change my monthly rate payment a whole lot, and then I'm gonna use it towards a short-term rental that we've already got kind of our eyes on an area. So yeah.
Short-term rentals up next. I hear it. That's so awesome. You kind of took me back to one of my favorite reads over here in my office. Gary Keller, millionaire real estate
Mm-hmm.
agent, and just kind of the mindset behind, looking at every opportunity when you're working with your clients, for yourself as well, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that is amazing too. So, what advice would you give someone who wants to start real estate but feels like they just don't have the time? You were able
I
to find some time, but yeah.
don't have the answer for how you find the time, but I would say go for it. Like I think that there's like some misnomers on part-time real estate work, or maybe that's not the right word choice, but I think that obviously part-time varies, right? Like I work a full-time job at the fire department, but I only work 8 days a month. So, okay, I come home and I have, 20 some days where I can do real estate. And so it's more than in part-time work, but it's totally flexible, right? It can be whatever you want it to be. And so find time to, get the education done and get the ball rolling. But once you do, like, I think that you can find ways you can leverage through virtual assistants for, pretty reasonable fees. You can get very reasonable transaction coordinators to help you out so that, you don't have to be hands-on every single minute of the day. And then you can have those time blocks, early in the morning before you go to your job, or at night, or on the weekends. I think it's super possible nowadays with the internet in ways that maybe historically, when people have said those kinds of things, it wasn't. I think we live in a great time where you can make it happen.
Absolutely. I
You
love
would
it.
agree, you would agree, Riley, that it's not a time management program or time management problem that agents have. It's really a prioritization problem. Would you agree
Yeah,
with
for
that?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, man, our lives are so packed with stuff nowadays that,
Stuff.
if you want to make it happen, you can make it happen. It's just prioritizing. It may be tough, especially as you get things going, but you can always make it happen. And, maybe that just looks like a couple transactions for the first few years or whatever, but down the line, I think business will take care of itself.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of agents too, like they pull themselves back and not getting into the multitude of work that could be out there, or transactions that could be out there, because they're scared of, okay, what do I do when I've got like 5 in escrow? How do I save myself? And it's
Mhm.
falling back on that transaction coordinator. It's being ready to dive in and plug in with a virtual assistant, or being ready to have a buyer's agent on hand that can support, or even a listing agent that can go out and support your listing. So I love that you found that. And last but not least, if you could go back to your newly licensed self, what is the one piece of advice that you would give
I think
yourself?
I would, yeah, tell myself to be patient. I think early on we had this crazy transition from like super busy when I first got licensed, and then the rates just went up that spring, and then it was like slowing down, and I'm like kind of just stepping into it, like, okay, like supposed to have people to talk to and things, right? And it was just like this really odd time, as well as like your business is just starting out, right? And you have to find out like, hey, what do you want your business to look like? How are you going to generate leads? And so I found some niches like Homes for Heroes that I love because, I'm someone who's in that same group, and I think it's a great program. And then just, my sphere, but being patient in learning about things, in getting the word out there, and finding what's going to work for me, whether it be postcards or social media, whatever it is, just like be patient and know that it takes a little bit of time, but once you get the ball rolling, it's, as long as you're consistent and you trust the process, that, you'll be successful, I think.
Consistent and trust the process. I love it. Wow. Thank you, Riley. This was amazing.
We
I
have
think
time for
that
a few questions.
yeah, there was, let me see here. Do we have any questions? I think if you've got any questions, go ahead and plug them in, but I think we have enough time that if you want to unmute yourself, go ahead and feel free. So there was one question I see here. It says, do you have favorite podcasts? I know you mentioned Big Pockets, On the Market, and Keeping It Real, some of the ones that I do listen to as well. Is there any others?
Yeah. So Housing Wire Daily is great. It's a little bit dense. Logan Motoshami is a economist who will be on CNBC, MSNBC, Squawk Box, Bigger Pockets. Everybody kind of like subs him out. And so some of this stuff is pretty dense on like, the data, right? Job market, rates, different graphs, and I mean, on and on and on. But I think overall, the host tries to have him dumb it down a little bit. It's more like lender focused, I think. But I really like that, to be able to speak to rates and that environment with more knowledge when clients ask about it. Because it's easy to say like, oh, nobody really knows or whatever. But if you actually have like, well, we're waiting for Friday when the jobs report comes out, it's like, and then they see that and like something goes up or down. It's like, oh, they know what they're talking about. So.
That's
It's
great.
wonderful. Yes, yes, yes. Let's see here. Any questions? Anybody? We're literally right at 6 o'clock. So do feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions for Riley, or plug them in the chat.
Or you can chat. It looks like I have somebody that didn't want to know who it was. It's fine. They want to know, Riley, aside from your sphere of influence and Home for Heroes, are there any other sources that you've tried?
I did Op City for a little bit. What is that? Is it realtor.com? And then
Yep.
now it might be something else too. I think I did 2 transactions actually off that, but it was a lot of volume and not a whole lot of, success. Yeah, those leads didn't always convert. Homes for Heroes is pretty good. I think I know Candace did it for a bit. I don't know if she still does, but like I've done 2 or 3 a year from that, and I probably get like 12 leads a year. So that's pretty good ratio. Everything else has just been like social media. I don't, there's a lot of people out there who like make videos and stuff like that. I don't do that. I'm pretty simple, but like I've tried to, through listening to podcasts and things like that, and just like it was kind of already something I was doing organically. I don't have a business page, but yeah, I just have like my page with my family and all my stuff, and real estate's part of my life, so it's in there too. And I think that's a trend I hear is happening more and more, that people are finding that works. And then I'll just do like a kind of, I don't know, I think people call them set and forget posts, like a just sold or, just listed, but try to tell a story like about the assumable mortgage or, the creative financing that we came up with, something that like grabs them versus just like, congrats to my buyers or sellers. And then from that, I've had people reach out and be like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. So I always try to make it really unique there. And then I've been able to have people who are friends, family, or, people I haven't honestly seen in like 15 years, but somehow Facebook friends reach out and then work with them.
Awesome. The social media would be your third kind of.
Yeah, social media would be my third. And yeah, just find what works for you on social media. I think there's a lot of ways to do it.
I like that you
There
said
is.
authentic. I think people need to be themselves and not try to be somebody they're not. And it's
Right.
not like you're coming at it from the same place where you said you didn't want to be. So you're true to yourself even on the social media. You're not trying to push stuff out, content that's not who you are, or that
Yeah.
pushiness. You want to be who you are. And your
Right.
client sounds like they're responding. Do you use a business? So you don't have a business page even now?
I do for Facebook just because it's made me, like with Social Bay, it's made me. And then
Yeah.
I have then shared that to my personal page. So I don't have any
Good.
friends on there except for like a few like lenders and realtors who have added me.
Sure.
But then I just share it over to my general Facebook.
Personal.
You can generate
Gotcha.
more business from that. That's
I
great.
do have a Google business page, but just for pictures and reviews, but otherwise not super invested in that, I guess.
Keyword, he said yet.
Yet, yes, I do need to add a bunch of pictures and do some more things with that. And just with everything going on, I haven't explored it enough. But I love Google Business. Like, hey, if I'm looking up a restaurant or anything else, it's always Google Business I'm using.
Yeah.
Google searching it.
Yeah, I think that's a forever work in progress. It's kind of like you're just constantly adding
Mhm.
to it and working on it. Okay, well, okay, we got one more question. 8 days as a firefighter, is that part-time or is that like full-time as a firefighter? That's a
Yeah,
question.
most firefighters are going to work in Washington State between 8 and 10 days a month. So 24-hour shifts, that converts to, for us with, vacation days, et cetera, 46 and a half hours a week, basically. So what I try to do since I live over here is work 2 days and then have like 6 days off. So then I'll make like 4
Nice.
trips over a month. And yeah, it's a pretty sweet gig.
That's
You had to work
wonderful.
hard for that.
And thank you for your
Yeah.
service because,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, yeah,
Thanks.
yes. Let me see here. Okay. Well,
That's
if there's
awesome.
no other questions, thank you so much, Riley. This was amazing. And I'm sure that people really got some good information from you. I love that you have just built a real organic business for yourself with authentic, relationships. It can be done, not buying a bunch of leads or anything to that sort. That's amazing. Amazing. So keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah,
I'm watching you. I got my eyes on you. So,
I appreciate it.
but
And
definitely, yeah, keep doing what you're doing.
thank you. I appreciate your guys' support and just the resources you guys always have for us. And if there's anybody that ever needs anything, either on the west side or east side, I'd love to meet more best choice agents and help out or work with you.
That's
Awesome.
wonderful.
Thank you so much
Yeah.
for your time, Riley.
All right. Thank you.
See you soon. Okay.
Good night.
Night.
All right, everyone. Have a good one.